everybody, how's it going? It's F11 that. Um, Today we are reading the final part of year one, the first year. It is, now is this saying, okay, let me just check the settings here for a second. On, okay. I don't know if this is, let me just check my phone. I just want to make sure I did this right. Lately I have been, let me just check something. Uh, oh, that okay. It is listed as private. Um, Edit to public. Go. Save. Okay. I'm going to share this again. Okay. Let me just see for a second. There's Kathy Ponder. Just give me a second, Kathy. I want to make sure that everybody gets this, because Linda tried to tell me it was on private and I didn't understand what she was trying to tell me. So let me just make sure I share this in my messenger. I do not like to share on X, or I do not even like to put live in my title, because we've been getting hit with a lot of bots and troll bots and stuff lately. So if I haven't been putting live in my title, you now know why. So let me just, okay, hang on. I'm almost done here, folks. This manual installing of telling everybody that I'm live is really rough. I accidentally, never mind. No, I don't want to talk about it there. There. And I'm almost done. Nope. And there we go. I do believe I'm done. I am. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. It was marked private and I didn't realize it because I scheduled it for 2 o'clock, and then nobody could come in early and wait, right? It's fine. We're all here for the final part of year one. Remember now, Manly's got the oats in and he was going to leave the wheat for a couple of days. Afternoon that day, DeVos came by. Cora stopped to spend some time while her husband Walter went on to town. The DeVos were about the same age as Manly and Laura and had been married about as long. Laura and Cora were very good friends, and it was a pleasant afternoon, except for being rather uncomfortable from the heat. As the afternoon passed, it grew hotter and there was no wind, which was unusual. I would have been trying to get the weed in right then and there. It left one gasping for breath and feeling smothered. About 3 o'clock, Manly came in from the barn and said it was going to rain for sure. He was glad he had not been cutting the wheat to have it lie in the rainstorm before he could get it shocked. The sunshine darkened and the wind sighed and then fell again as it grew darker yet. Then the wind rose a little and it grew lighter, but the light was a greenish color. That's tornado stuff. Then the storm came. It rained only a little, then hailstones began to fall. At first scattering slowly, then falling thicker and faster while the stones were larger and some as large as hen's eggs. Manly and Cora watched from the windows. They could not see far into the rain and hail, but they saw old Larson across the road come out to his door and step out. Then they saw him fall, and someone reached out the door, took hold of his feet and dragged him in, and the door shut. The fool, he got a hailstone in the head, Manly said. In just 20 minutes, the storm was over, and when they could see as far as the field, the binder was still there, but the wheat was lying flat. It got the wheat, I guess, Manly said, but Laura could not speak. Manly went across the road to find out what happened to Mr. Larson. When he came back in a few minutes, he said Mr. Larson had stepped out to pick up a hailstone so large he wanted to measure it. Just as he stooped to pick it up, another one hit him on the head. He was on... Grab a broom or a mop or a rake or something. Duh. He was unconscious for several minutes after he was dragged by the heels, but was all right now except for a sore head. Now let's have some ice cream, Manly said. You stir it up, Laura. I'll gather up hailstones for ice to freeze it. Laura turned to Cora where she stood speechless, looking out the window. Do you feel like celebrating, Cora? She asked. Cora answered, No, I want to get home and see what has happened there. Ice cream would choke me. The storm had lasted only 20 minutes, but it left a desolate, rain-drenched and hail-battered world. Unscreened windows were broken. Where there were screens, there were broken and bent. The ground was covered with hailstones so thickly it looked covered with a sheet of ice. And they even lay in drifts here and there. Leaves and branches were stripped off the young trees, and the sun shone with a feeble, watery light over the wreck. The wreck, thought Laura, of a year's work, of hopes and plans, of ease and pleasure. Well, there would be no threshers to cook for. Laura had dreaded the threshing. As Ma used to say, there's no great loss without some small gain. That she should think of so small a gain bothered Laura. She and Cora sat white and silent until Walter drove up to the door, helped Cora into the wagon, and drove away, almost forgetting to say goodbye in their anxiety to get home and learn how bad the storm had been there. Manly went out to look at the wheat field and came in sober enough. There's no wheat to cut. It's all threshed and pounded into the ground. $3,000 worth of wheat planted. And it's the wrong time of year. Laura was muttering to herself. The poor man gets... What's that? Manly said. I was only saying that the poor man got his ice in the summer this time. At 2 o'clock the next day, the hailstones were still lying in drifts in low places. Though plans were wrecked, the pieces must be gathered up and put together again in some shape. Winter was coming. Coal must be bought to last through. That would cost between $60 and $100. Wow. Do you know how much I pay for heat? Well, in firewood, I pay about $700 a year. So that's actually $60 and $100 back then was like, wow, that was a lot of money. Seed grain would have to be bought for the next spring's sowing. There were notes on the machinery coming due. There was the binder that had been used to cut only 50 acres of oats. There was the sulky plow and the mower and the rake, the seeder that had sown the grain in the spring, and the new wagon. There was too the $500 still due on the building of the house. $500 debt on the house, Laura exclaimed. Oh, I didn't know that. But something must be done about all of this. And he would go to town tomorrow to see what could be done. Perhaps he could raise money with a mortgage on the homestead. Told you he liked his mortgages way too much. That was proved up on, thank goodness. He couldn't give a mortgage on the tree claim, That belonged to Uncle Sam until Manly had raised those trees. And Laura thought she could hear her father singing, "Our Uncle Sam is rich enough to give us all a farm." Sometimes Laura was afraid her head was a little flighty, but that extra $500 debt had been something of a shock. 500 and 200 was 700, and the wagon and the mower, she must stop counting it or she would have her head queer. Manly found that he could renew his machinery notes for a year by paying the interest. He could even make the first payment on the binder after the next harvest, posting the second payment to the year after. He could sell all the wild hay he had for $4 a ton, delivered at the railroad in town. Buyers wanted to ship it to Chicago, but he could not raise money with a mortgage on the homestead unless they were living on it. He must have money to pay the interest due for living expenses and for seed. There was no way to get the money except by moving to the homestead. If they were living on the homestead, he could mortgage it for $800. A newcomer would buy Kate and Bill for more than Manly had paid for them. Manly would not need them, for they had found a renter for the tree claim on shares. Manly would furnish the seed. Skip and Barnum, Trixie and Fly, to do the driving, could do the work on the one place. If someone else worked the tree claim, Manly could raise more crops on the homestead and have more profit from the farms than if he tried to work both claims all by himself. An addition would have to be built on the homestead claim shanty before they moved, but they could do with one new room and a cellar underneath, though using the original sand. Okay. An addition would have to be built on the homestead claim shanty before they moved, but they could do with one new room and a cellar underneath through using the original shanty for a storeroom. So it was decided. Manly hurried to stack the oats, which the hail had threshed to the ground, but the oat straw made good animal feed to make place of hay that would leave more hay to sell. Oh, so his oats were in shocks. They weren't even in the barn. Then the oats were hauled to the homestead and stacked. Manly dug the hole in the ground for the cellar, and over it built the one-room addition to the claim shanty. Then he built the frame of a barn, cut slough hay, and when it was dry, stacked it around the frame to make a hay barn. Everything was ready now for mowing. Everything was ready now for moving. Manly and Laura moved to the homestead the very next day after the barn was finished. And it was the 25th of August, and the winter and the summer were the first year. So, yeah, the second year, these are really long chapters, so they've been broken up. But thank you for joining me. That's year one complete of the first 4 years. I will see you all maybe tomorrow. All right. I love you guys. Take care. God bless. And I might do a live on our half-acre homestead. Let's think about it. What do you think? Should we go live on our half-acre homestead? I love you guys. Take care. God bless. Mwah.